What's up, guys? Welcome to the Behind the Golf Brand podcast. This week, I have my good friend Ian Zubkoff, also known as Zuby, from SuperStroke Golf Grips. We're going to talk about everything about SuperStroke, about their growth, where they've been, how they got to where they're at, and learn more about Zuby and his amazing career in the golf industry. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for the introduction. It's so kind of you, Paul.
Do you feel like all special now?
No,
Oh,
I
I'm
feel
sorry to hear
special
that.
every day when I just look at the picture of my two kids and my wife.
Oh, that's the clip you're gonna play them probably.
Uh,
Um,
exactly.
so my first question is like, where are you located? Like, where do you live?
I personally Superstroke is based out of Michigan, but I personally live in Arizona, Scottsdale area, and have been here since you know day one when we started the company.
So let me ask this question: are you a golf pro or no?
Now,
What's your handicap?
10.
All right, man. I'm trying to get to 10 this year. I'm a 16. It's a long way though. 16 to
Mine
10.
has kind of drifted up to a 10. I've been, probably mostly around a 7, 8 most of my life. And
Oh wow.
age has caught up with me, Paul. Age has
I bet
caught up
your
with me.
I bet your putting's really good.
Well, I mean, there's times. It's, just because I make a great grip doesn't mean I make every putt. But I have been very fortunate to have lots of different options.
Yeah. So all right. So where did you grow up? Like, did you grow up here in Arizona or did you grow up somewhere else?
No, so my family basically, obviously, from migrated here from overseas,
Yeah.
as we talked about, different parts of Europe, and they settled in the Midwest, mostly Chicago area, and then my parents moved us down to South Bend, Indiana, and so went to high school there, um, college for a few years at Indiana University, and um, from there, when I was right before my dad passed away in my early college days, and I needed to go find a way to help the family, so started working. So I went right back to Chicago and South Bend and back and forth, and trying to figure out how to help my mom, which it's what guys do. If well, I shouldn't say all guys, but most people who are connected with their mothers, and that was in 1970, late 1970s somewhere, and ended up in Chicago at the Mercantile Exchange, the Chicago CME, which of course from the golf industry, where I was there for I don't know a number of years, did pretty well there. Um,
What were you trading?
well, we started the S&P 500 pit. My partner and I were, some of the original members who started the Standard and Poor 500, and but I mean, we traded everything: pork bellies, golds, So it was
Yeah, mercantile. Yeah.
yeah, cattle, feeder cattle,
Coal, whatever.
yeah, lots of different things, but. Which led me to my passion at that time, which was music. And of course, I was fortunate enough to have done okay at the Mercantile Exchange, and unfortunately didn't do so well in my next venture, which was in the music business, and which led me to the golf industry in the late 1980s. And, you know, during all those years that we just talked about, I had found golf, right? And it became a passionate thing for me where like the only thing I could think of was when can I get out to the golf course? And I got inundated with a bunch of guys who were just, loved to go out and gamble and play on the golf course, and learned. I think the very first time I ever played with somebody, of any meaning, I got my butt handed to me and lost a lot of money. We won't say how much. But having been a fairly decent athlete, I even in the very beginning was okay at golf, right? So that passion is easy to grow when you hit some good shots, right? And you
Yeah,
find them.
all it takes is one. You're like, oh, I like
Yeah,
this game.
all it takes is one with the bet on the line, right? That you hit a good one. So of course that led me to the golf industry, which I started in I want to say 88 or 89. When I started with a company who we all know, Head
Oh
Sports.
yeah.
Yeah, and
What were they
started
making
out
back then? Like, are they tennis?
golf clubs. Golf clubs.
Are
They
they,
started
are,
in the golf industry.
I didn't know
I
that.
mean, it was actually pretty big deal back in the 80s. Head golf equipment. I'm sure a lot of people who were around back then and pros, they all know it. I mean, it had a unique
Value
bit of
proposition.
bit of technology to it. The guys who were the inventors of the equipment had just be, were the designer from Hogan and the designer from Hogan and the president from Hogan Golf, which was one of the top golf companies back then. And they shot off, and of course I started with them as a salesman, I think in '88, and by '89 I was the regional manager, and later '89 I was VP of the company, and that's where I kind of got my chops going in in golf sales. So we started back then. That lasted until about 1995, roughly. So I'm going to tell you this quick story because it'll cover 35 years of golf for me, and we can do that in about 3 minutes. So that lasted from '88 to '95. In '95, I got a call from the former one of the guys over there at Head, who was the CEO, who's now retired, who used to be president of Mizuno, Bob Puccini. Says, "Hey, they're going to sell the company, and it doesn't look like the new owner is going to continue with golf." So things came to things, left, kind of started my own company, which was Golf Assets back then, and Zubko Enterprises, which kind of filter into each other. And that led into starting a company which you may remember called Nick Kent, which Nick Kent hybrids and so forth and so on. And of course, that lasted till 2008, from '95 till 2008. The guy who I was involved with there, it didn't work out any longer. So in 2008, we split up, March 31st of '08. I want to say, so that was March 31st. I want to say within a week of that, I got a call from Dean Dingman. And you know who Dean Dingman is? He's the CEO of SuperStroke. And Dean and I began, a conversation. Asked me what I, wanted to do. Obviously he had some interest in getting me to come with him. And at that time, they owned Tiger Shark Golf. There was no SuperStroke yet. So things came to things. Long story short, we joined forces probably around August of that year. Soon after that, we had an opportunity with the SuperStroke brand to buy it, and we did, and the rest is history. It's 15 years later. So how about that for 35 years in that short of time to be able to tell you that story? That's 35 years in golf.
Oh, I got a lot of questions for you. So here we
Yeah.
go. Why'd you go to IU instead of Notre Dame?
I had a scholarship.
Really? Nice. Let me ask another question. All right. So when you
But I am a Notre Dame
started,
fan.
are you? You're both probably. You're kind of stuck,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's tough when they play each other in basketball, though, man. Where you went to school and where you grew up next, it's a tough deal.
Not in football though.
No.
They didn't play each other anymore. don't even know if they do.
Not
I
football.
doubt it. I
They're
doubt
doing
it.
basketball every year.
Yeah. It's been a long time. I mean, I remember when I was at Purdue, like we'd play Notre Dame and they used to always kick our ass. Like we were terrible. Um, and then Drew Brees started for us, and then we started like winning. And the first game we actually won was against Notre Dame, and we went crazy because it was like 15 years since we ever beat them. And I remember we ripped the goalposts out of the ground and threw them in the Wabash River. And I think those goalposts were like 15 grand each or something.
You
And
know,
then they
there's
like
no statue on the
cemented them.
Wabash River, right? They could still come get you for that.
I didn't do it. I saw it on TV.
The Wabash River, I know it well.
It's gross now. I think when we had tubing down at once was pretty nasty. That was back in the 90s. But so when you went on to SuperStroke, I mean, it sounds so. I guess when we were talking earlier about the show, like before the show started, you were talking about like you've seen a lot of changes in the industry, right? With over a 35-year career, and I mean, what were the big moments over the last 30 years that like really changed the industry? Like what would
Well, I mean, there's some that stick out to me,
yeah,
right?
like what would like what's your
Right.
opinion?
I mean, my opinion is, when I first got here, you know, the golf business was driven by, a few companies, and they all had their little way of doing business. You had Hogan that used to get in with all the green grass guys, and they had PGA apparel, and they had balls, and the rep would go in and fill the shop up, and the pro would be on staff, and you had companies like Wilson, you had companies like Yamaha and Daiwa. I mean, it was a different industry back then. Then you had this little startup company called Callaway back then. And when I say a little startup company, I mean a little startup company. And Callaway, I think, was the biggest change that I noticed in my young career, because they changed the way that we do business even to today. Callaway made it a consumer-driven marketplace where they I'm changing something here so I can see you better. Give me 1 second. Okay. So Callaway took the marketing and changed it to a new level. They were by far the first company that drove consumers in to buy things, and that was the biggest change, because they literally, and of course they followed it up with technology that worked, and that is a huge component in being successful. You can talk about what you want all you'd like, and if it doesn't freaking work, it doesn't freaking work, right? Like, but that original S2H2 steel-headed driver with the S2H2 irons, and they had the hickory shaft wedges, and then they came out with that product known as the Big Bertha, which back then was only, I don't know, 290 cc's or something, or 270 cc's, and it set the world on fire. And they literally perfected the game of getting tour players playing it. They perfected the game of driving the consumer with marketing to go ask for it. And that was kind of the beginning of the change of the golf industry, where it became an advertising business almost as much as it was equipment business.
What was the advertising like prior to that, though? Was it just through the green grass stores and trying to get pros to say how great it was?
It just wasn't as pointed, right? It wasn't as pointed as it became. Nobody knew they could drive people to buy stuff. Advertising, as is just changed. I mean, you got used to be product oriented. Now it's, can you remember the ad? Like, it's like more about remembering sometimes you see you see the ad now, and you can't even remember what it's about until the very end. They go, oh, that's about that. They'll be like some guy falling out of a tree, and you don't know what the whole thing's about. And then you go, okay, it's about this. But, advertising obviously has grown for all industries. I mean, you see it, but golf really jumped on the bandwagon, at that point. And I think that was a huge changing point back in the,
Early
I want to
90s.
say early early 90s. And
It was like Warburg, like because the Big Bertha was like the club everybody wanted. I remember
right.
that, and I was in high school, and I remember that. I might have one. I saw the one that I have. I got used. I just think it's cool. It's an old club. It's like the only one I have, and I'm like, because I remember it. That was like the thing. Everybody like that was it. Like you had that, you were like, oh crap, you got a Big Bertha. Look at you.
Yeah.
Don't,
Right. So that was a big thing, as far as a change, and that continues till today, right? Like you can't do anything unless you're marketing your product anymore, right? Like you could have the best wedge driver, whatever you want in the world. If you can't tell people about it, you're only going to sell a few, right? And telling people about it takes a commitment in dollars, right? So that was that. Probably the ball changing, from balata to these 3-piece balls, I think has been a big thing. And, obviously that arena has changed golf as far as how far the ball goes, so forth and so on. And of course, what we're doing in grips is a big change in the landscape of what's going on. Because if you think, Paul, like you were saying, however many years ago before we were in existence, what would you do if you had a bad day putting? I mean, I've done a number of these interviews, podcasts, and so forth, and the story remains the same because it's pretty relevant. What did you do 15 years ago if you had a bad day putting? I mean, you probably went and bought a new putter.
as I say, buy a new putter. It's the putter's fault,
Right. Or, and a lot of times that putter you had ends up in the lake or in a closet or in a bag in your garage of the other 8 putters you have, or 20 or 6 or 5, and then someday you go back to it and you may use it. But now, and if you think, 20 years ago, if you went in a retail space, for example, you'd have to ask somebody, do you have any putter grips? I mean, it'd take you over to a corner and there'd be a little thing of 4 or 5 putter grips. They were $7, $8 a piece, and they were rubber. And now, the putting grip is as important as almost anything in your bag, right? Like to get your hands quiet and to feel, that comfort and quietness in your hands, which is what we try to accomplish. And, I think we've done a nice job of being able to get people more options so that they can get more comfortable and enjoy golf better, because obviously the putter grip the putter is the most used item in the bag. You take more strokes with it than any other club in your bag during a round. So that was kind of the plan with SuperStroke, was to create a new category that mattered. And we saw that as a deficiency. Did we ever dream it would become what it is today? No. I mean, no.
Not in a million years, right?
Not in a million years. I mean, did we foresee success? Of course. But what is success measured by? Just, could be the fact that grip, that SuperStroke grip was accepted on the tour was pretty successful, for us. Just that. I remember in the early days, just, Dean and I'd be on the phone on a Saturday, go, turn the TV on. There's one. We'd have
all excited, like super excited. You're like, oh my God.
One grip, KJ Choi or, whoever, on TV with our grip. And it, Dean's done an amazing job holding to the value and the values that he foresaw for our brand. And he's kind of the brains behind all the marketing and, really the direction of the brand. And, I'm just there to comfort him. No, that's, and that's, there's a lot of truth in that. I mean, he's been the leader that's foreseeing all this. Of course, I support the growth and with information, and he and I collaborate with now we have a great team of people that are there. We as you probably know, we've got a great marketing team, and we've got a great R&D team now. But I mean, back in those days, it was kind of 3 people, and if we make a bad decision, we might be hauling trash for a living. Who knows? What? Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it might have been different than in the golf business, right? So we've just been really lucky. We've had a lot of support, and one of the key principles that Dean has always held to, and that I'd like to buy into with him, is that we're really kind of driven by the tour, and we build products. The expansion of our line comes from tour feedback, as opposed to, hey, here's this driver, we're paying you how many millions of dollars a year to play for us. Now we have to make it fit you. We go to them and say, what's your idea on this grip? And they're like, oh, we like, this hand smaller, this one bigger. And then when you give them what they ask for, there's a likelier chance they're going to use it, right? The tour players. So,
because they want to win. They're not getting it's not like they're getting paid to use it.
But,
like they're paying.
No, but
when it comes down to making money, they're going to want to.
It's their idea too,
Yeah.
the development of it. So they buy into it because, they've had feedback in it. And I think that's what separates us a lot from other companies, is we value and we take all that feedback. I mean, not just tour players, but I mean, designers from other companies, just lots of other people that we share with. I mean, OEM companies, and they'll give us ideas. We take them and we iterate them down to different grips, different sizes. And, now just in putter grips alone, I think we have 25 different shapes and sizes. That's not even including different colorations. Then you times them by 8 colors. And, you're talking however many.
Special limited edition or what, like different designs.
No, I'm not even talking about limited edition.
I'm talking about that. That's just, pure sizes.
Look at that. I mean, those are all just different shapes, sizes, and colors. And that's just 12 pegs, for example. So, I mean, this has evolved from one grip, to that. And I think it will keep evolving. I mean, we've got new technology now that we can't talk about yet, that we're going to be able to implicate in the next 12 to 18 months. That's going to change it all completely again. It's going to be like, whew. So we're pretty excited, about our growth. I shouldn't say pretty excited. Obviously we're ecstatic. And of course, when you catch a run like we had, winning 7 out of the last 8 or 6 out of the last 7, with, that whole thing with the U.S. Open kind of coupled into it with Ricky in the story and Keegan Bradley in the story. It's been, it obviously puts another spike in, the bell curve where you weren't expecting to grow again that fast. So we just keep going at it every day, being humble, and try to stay focused to our goal, which is to help people play better golf.
So with the Zenergy line, right? What makes that different than what's already out there right now in terms of like?
Well, I mean, grips? To answer your question, we're already number one, right? We've been number one for a long time. So to make number one, which is already the best, better is a hard feat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, how do you make the best better? So that was a hard deal. And, luckily from our standpoint, I mean, Dean and his team with, John Biafor and Dave and Pete and all those guys that work on the grips back there, they came up with a better mousetrap. And what makes it better is we were able to take the core principles of the grip and just make them better. So one of the one of the things I'll show you, just for example. So this is a traction grip, right, from last year. So if you zoom in on that, you can see the behind of it there. That's the spine line. And then you go to this year's. And if you can see that, you can see how it's perforated a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we were able to enhance the spine to get, a better feel there, make it tackier. We've also been able to enhance the material, which is making it even, softer and more tacky.
Softer, yeah.
And of course, we were able to enhance the texture. So if you look at the difference in texturing just on the two, you can see there's a big difference. So now you always say, are we doing better? Well, the proof would be in the pudding, right? So when 90% of the tour switches to your new grip where they don't have to, I think you've been validated, right? I mean, they could play this model. They could play that model. They could play one for 12 years ago. We'll keep making it for them. We don't care, right? Like, of course, we're going to show them what's new, but it must be a better widget. Yeah. Right.
Or it must work, period. Right. Like, if it doesn't work, they're not going to use it because they're not going to win. If they're not going to win, they're going to go with somebody else like that. Right. I mean, when it really comes down to winning, it's like when you're on the putting green, right? So it's like they want to be comforted and know that they have the right product in their hands, literally.
Agreed. And, one of the cool things that I think, a lot of people, say SuperStroke and go, oh, that's the big grip company or what have you, right? We make every size grip you can imagine, from the smallest of smalls to the largest of larges. And one of the things we're so proud of is we make grips like for people who putt with the claw, and we make grips for people who putt with arm lock, and we make grips who putt with the 2-piece putter, and we make grips for people who want something really tiny in their hand. We make grips for people who want something large in their hand, and we make a grip, and you can see the shape of this. Look at that. That's what Keegan Bradley won with, right? And that's meant to go into your wrist like that.
Yep.
Right? So that's called a wrist lock grip, right? You see how that piece fits right in the palm of your hand, and you can do like
full
that.
Control.
So, and then you've seen the craze on the 17-inch grip recently, right? I mean, if you're alive and watching golf, I mean, you've seen Ricky and Wyndham Clark and all those guys, switch to the new 17-inch grip, which, this is a 17-inch grip that TaylorMade has been using for the last couple of years. So it's not new. It just got popular, right?
Because they're using it. Yeah, exactly. And it's like working.
Right.
Well, even the big grip, though, people just think that like SuperStroke grips are the big, like you said, the big grip, right? But the big grip is really not a big grip. Like it's more tapered down as you go down. It looks bigger on top, but it's
no. That's the same all the way down. Look at it.
Oh, okay.
That's 17 inches.
Oh, yeah.
That's a 17-inch 3.0. I mean, that doesn't taper. That's the whole principle behind it. It's no taper.
But on the smaller ones, on the smaller SuperStrokes.
The principle behind the original SuperStroke was no taper.
No, but what about the one with the lock grip you just showed me? Is that tapered or is that all the same size too?
This one, you talking about the wrist lock?
Yeah,
so the wrist lock has this flange here, and then it doesn't taper anymore.
Oh, I see.
And most of our grips, so these are the two sizes that basically SuperStroke was founded on, right? 5.0 and 3.0. And you look at them, they don't taper. And that's basically what people really like about it, is that it doesn't squeeze away from you in the bottom hand, right? You can keep the same pressure. Now, we do have a couple, like 3 out of the 25 that taper, but pretty much the
They're all
bottom
the same.
the bottom half just stays constant the whole time, which is what our principle is, non-taper.
Yeah, that's what I like. I mean, I have SuperStroke on all my putter grips, and I have had them for, I don't know, 7-8 years. Like, it's the only thing I really like to use, like, honestly, because they're just perfect. They fit perfectly in my hand. I feel like I have more control over my putt, and I'm not with the small. I always feel like I'm more like, I don't call whippy, but like I feel like a little more control. Like I'm more, how do you call it, your wrist, where I'm not able to like make sure my putt is pure, right? I'm almost
More
like I'm like
wristy. Wristy
yeah,
is a
more
good
risky.
term.
That's the right word. I'm trying to think of a right way of saying it.
Yeah.
That's why I always really like the SuperStroke grip, because I feel like I don't have to worry about that. And
Well, pretty much every other grip does taper down,
yeah,
right? So that's a big deal. I mean, and that's kind of where we made our hay. And I mean, you're number
the
one in the
technology
world.
that made it's your technology that made you different, that made it worked, right? And that nobody was even thinking about that. They all probably did the same thing, right? Like, and I mean, nobody, I mean, until you guys came out and started doing this in the late 2000, or 2008, 2009. Like, prior to that though, was there any, like, what was there any kind of technological advancements in putter grip technology, or not really? Because I can't think of any.
I mean, for me, no.
I mean, yeah, like you would just know, like, oh, that's the whatever. Like, I can't think of anything. So
For
I think you
me,
guys made
no.
it cool, and I think you guys made it different, and it's a technology that helped people actually putt, and it was validated on the tour because those guys want to win, and then it just kind of took off.
Well, I mean, I think when you see, the majority of winners using something,
I
I
know,
mean,
proof's in the pudding.
right. I mean, it kind of is what it is. I mean, are there other decent putter grips out there? Of course. But we have, a unique, super tacky, soft feel that, you know, takes you to a different level. And obviously, the proof's in, like you said, the proof's in the pudding. I mean, you have, you know, a majority of the best players in the world using it. I think
Trust it.
that
They
kind of,
trust it. That's the thing. I think the
yeah.
word is like, they trust. It's not like, I mean, how many times you guys see change? They change clubs all the time, right? But it's the grip. Are they changing their grip? Are they trusting
Yeah.
that?
But do you know what, Paul? To answer your question, I think that's when we realized we had kind of arrived in the industry as more than a flash, because obviously we went a little crazy in, 10 and 11 and 12, 2010, 11 and 12. And, then you build to 2015. Spieth goes off crazy and, wins three majors there over a period of time, 15 and 16. And you take and you look back, and now we see people, they'll try something other than SuperStroke, and then 2 weeks later they go back to SuperStroke. So when they're going back to us, it's kind of I feel like we've arrived a little bit when we're the one they go back to. Right? Does that
Yeah,
make sense?
they go home. All right, they know that the whoever's selling them on whatever is gonna make them a better putter. They try it out and like, nothing's a piece of crap. I'm not doing this, and they go back to what they know is good and they can rely on, because they want to win. Like, I don't think people understand, like, that's the key to all of this. Like, if these guys don't win, that's everything, right? That's their whole job. They have to win or place or whatever. And it's like, if they can't do it, then they're not going to use your product. And yeah, they can make money off of like whatever, being paid by a brand or something. But if you're ranked 90th in the world and you don't ever qualify, then it doesn't matter. Like, you got to win. And I think that's what's kind of cool. I said it was SuperStroke when, I mean, you guys have everybody, like, pretty much almost everybody this year has been using a SuperStroke grip that's won, right?
Well, no, because there's lots of people who don't win who are using SuperStroke,
No,
unfortunately.
I know, but I'm saying, like,
Almost every
like,
win, you're
every
saying.
winner has been using a SuperStroke. Let's put it that
Well,
way.
no, I mean, I'd love to agree with you, but let's put it this way. I mean, like I just said, we won 7 out of the last 8 or 6 out of the last
Yeah, that's what I'm
7.
saying. Exactly.
And yeah, I mean, obviously we have a pretty good majority, of guys that we like to think, it's interesting. You watch golf, right? I'm sure you're a golf junkie and you watch it. And let's just say you only had 8 people in the whole tournament using SuperStroke, which of course we have, between 50 and 80 or 50 and 70 every week using SuperStroke. But if they're all in the last couple groups, that's all you see. So you think everyone's using
True.
it, right?
Yeah, exactly right. It's very true.
Right. So, like to your point, a lot of the better players are using it, and that's why you notice it so much because it's always there on
Front
Sunday.
center.
Yeah, front and center. And I think that's been one of our, keys is, how many products out there can you really designate what they're being used for while they're being marketed by players? When I
They're being zoomed in on, like
right.
on the green.
I mean,
exactly.
Like, yeah. I mean, you look at their driver. I mean, you might know that red face driver is a stealth, and you might know.
Well, if you're a fanboy and you know every single new driver it's out,
right, but
and you know the
guy's putting,
yeah.
and you know exactly what he's using
in 2 seconds. Yeah, it sells itself.
It's unique, right? There's not many other things out there that you can, there's some shafts that have some really cool markings on the shaft where
yeah, but they're like this big. I mean, they're teeny. Like you can't read that. Like I mean, I guess you could if you know your shafts. I just think I don't know. I think it's brilliant what you guys did. Actually, you like outside of what you've built, but with the technology, but the way it's marketed, it's just brilliant. It's freaking brilliant.
Well, I appreciate that, and we do. I mean, we're very fortunate, to have great support, and we're very fortunate to have people, who enjoy our products to play better golf. I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
So, you have a lot of new stuff coming out. You said even more groundbreaking, right? In the next couple of years.
Yeah,
like it'll be
our most groundbreaking product ever.
That's crazy. I mean, every year it feels like, I don't know. I feel like the products you make are so high quality as it is already. So it'd be really exciting to see like what that new technology is.
We'll make sure and let you get a sneak preview before we do it.
You guys sent me this box of grips. Like I don't know if you knew this, but like I have this box. It's like this big. It's flaps it open, and there was like 8 grips in there, right? Every single color. And I am giving them away to like my subscribers, my fans, whatever. It was the coolest box. It was like opening a box of chocolates. Like you open it up, it's like, oh, which color do you like? And it was like every single color under the sun.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But I mean, that's what's nice. There's colors for everybody, but it's all the same feel, right? Like, so if you like a feel, and there's one for everything. And I think, you mentioned early, we do some one-off stuff, some special edition stuff. You'd have to go to our website to follow us to find that stuff that only comes out for like an hour or two, and it sells out in minutes, But we've got some really unique things we do. And
you had a summer one, didn't you? Like a summer one that like sold out so fast. I remember that because I saw it and I was like, "What?" It was like this Barbie. I don't remember what it was. It was like a month ago. It was like the coolest thing I'd ever seen.
The Turn.
It was that's what it was. How fast that sell out? Because like right
Same
away,
day.
right?
Same day. Yeah, hours.
I went to Carl. I was like, "Yo, send me one of those SuperStroke grills. They're cool." He's like, "Oh, we sold out like 2 weeks ago, bro." I was like, "Oh,
yeah." Well, I think the one thing that a lot of your listeners probably don't realize is that we make club grips.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that. I mean, you guys sent me some. Those are actually really cool because you can do some cool designs on those as well.
Like I just brought a few here to show you.
Yeah.
These are the exact same feel as our putter grips, but tackier and firmer. I mean, they come in many different colors, shapes, and sizes. We've got your traditional kind of wrapped looking one that comes in black, gray. We call that basketball leather color, copper.
That's really cool.
Right. And of course, then you've got one that looks more like a putter grip. Right. But I mean, we sell lots, and there are a lot, and the same great feel that's in our putter grip now you can have on all your clubs. It's interesting, huh?
That's super
And then
cool.
you go to our rubber version, for example, which is what Jordan Spieth plays.
Oh wow.
Exactly. So, and he doesn't have to. He plays it because he likes it. So we're very blessed. Excuse me a second here. I have to sneeze. So
That's all right.
sorry. Sorry.
That's all right. You live in Arizona. It's
Yeah,
very
I
hot
know.
and dusty here.
I know. Sorry about that. Well, I mean, our club grips are just growing like crazy.
When
These
did you guys start doing that?
I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I mean, this thing feels unbelievable. I mean, it feels. If you like the feel of the putter grip, there you go, and it's tacky. It's really good. You'll really
And
like
you
it.
also have did you guys also do a bunch of licensing too? Like you have licensing
We do.
grips as
We
well.
do that. We license, NFL, NHL, MLB,
That's cool.
colleges. I mean, you can get a grip that that says. I don't know if we do one that
Notre
says
Dame.
Purdue, but Notre Dame for sure.
I don't see. I don't see. I don't see Notre Dame. Wait, the Notre Dame in here. What about IU? I mean, lots of. This is cool. Like I don't know. I just think it. You guys are just a good product. It's just so. One last question for you. In terms of what's your favorite grip right now? Would you say to use for yourself?
Um, I'm a 3.0 fan, and I'm waffling back and forth between the standard length and the 17-inch 3.0. So this is a pretty standard size for us, the SuperStroke 3.0,
Yeah,
the Tour 3.0. But it seems like a lot of the Tour,
like the bigger one.
no, they like this little pistol-y shape one. That one it does really
Yeah.
well on tour. We have, Jordan plays a grip called the Flatso, which is a pentagonal shaped grip,
Oh, I think I have that one. Yeah, that
kind of
thing's
like that
cool.
one,
Yeah.
and that allows you to get those 5 pressure points in your hand all quiet. It sets right in there. I mean, my favorite is the 3.0. That's me. It's big enough where my hands are relaxed, which is really what I'm looking for, is just for my hands to relax. And I think that's my favorite. But that's the second model we ever came out with was the 3.0. So I feel very I'm kind of old school that way. I've tried them all, and obviously, if I try one I like better, I go to it
Just
for a
switch it
while.
out. Yeah.
But I think that's what's
Um.
nice. Going back to our point from earlier, I think that's what's nice. You can have one putter, and you can have 20 different shapes and sizes on there eventually, right? You can try everything, and you don't have
Buy a
to
new
buy a new
putter.
putter.
You might. Yeah, you love your putter and you don't ever want to get rid of it. You could buy a new grip for, you know, not that much in
30
comparison to a new
bucks.
putter. 30
Yeah,
bucks, 30 bucks for a new putter grip. You try it out. You try it out for a couple, season, or you try it out for as much as you want, and then you don't like it, put a new one on. I mean, there's lots of
right.
variety, which is cool. One thing I like about your website, I don't know if people knew this, but if you don't know what grip to get, you can go to SuperStroke's website and they have a whole quiz, right? Where you can kind of figure out what grip's made for you. They've already kind of figured it out within reason to help
Well,
people figure it out.
it'll definitely point you in the right direction,
Right
right?
direction. Yeah, exactly.
Right. It'll definitely get you to a point where you can narrow it down within a couple grips, and then you can go over to your local retailer if you want, or you can buy it online. But you go over to a retailer and try it. You can put it in your hand and feel it, and get some different feedback from it. But I think that quiz is extremely helpful,
Super
right?
smart.
Yeah,
Yeah, it guides people in the right way.
for sure, for sure.
One last question to you too. What if you were new to the game of golf, right? And you're looking for a good putter grip. And I know you like the 3.0. What would you say for like, because like a lot of people who are new don't understand like putting and what grip is good for them or whatever. Would you recommend them to try out the putter quiz online and then see what maybe SuperStroke is best for them? Is that what?
Absolutely. I think,
Yeah.
but I think I've found through my years doing this that for somebody new, keeping them from squeezing down is an attribute, right? When people putt, they tend to get tense, right? So a little bigger always allows you to relax your hands rather than a little smaller. So I always go a little bigger with the newer ones, the newer people, because I think it relaxes their hands. You can't really squeeze down on it as much. And I'm sure that squeezing down is just not good for a putting stroke. No, it's about it's about you don't want pressure. You want light pressure. You just want to be able to, get the thing moving on a pendulum. And the easiest, and if you're squeezing it, the pendulum, translates into your shoulder. So I always tend to think that a little bigger is better for newer people until they get the feel, and then they may decide a lot bigger is better for them or a little smaller than that. But I'd stay in the mid-size category, if I was new. But I think that quiz that we've developed on our website will guide you, But I don't know how much it guides a beginner because I don't know if they know what they're doing yet. But I guess it's a starting point.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I just want to say thank you for being on the show. Where can people find SuperStroke at?
Every golf shop on the planet.
And also their website too.
Right. Our websites and every website. SuperStrokeUSA.com, right? SuperStrokeUSA.com. You can find it at every major retailer, in North America. Dick's Sporting Goods, Golf Galaxy,
you're everywhere. Like you're like
worldwide,
the brand,
worldwide golf, Golf Town in Canada, Vans,
Amazon, everywhere.
PGA Tour Superstore. If you're, your local pro shop has them. Everybody carries them. They may not carry every size like the bigger stores like PGA and Dick's and Worldwide, but they sure carry SuperStroke, and they can get you anything you want.
Honestly, guys, I am a huge fan of SuperStroke grips. Like they make literally the best grips. They're perfect.
As I'm a fan of your show.
Well, I appreciate that. But I think if you guys haven't checked out SuperStroke, please do. We've done a ton of reviews on the show, on the website as well. And I really want to say thank you for being on the show, Zuby. He's a very, very busy person, as you guys can see. So it's really cool to have him on the show talking about SuperStroke. Like I said, probably one of the best, or if not the best, putter grips around. And I will see you guys in the next episode.
Well, I'll leave you with one more, Paul.